Georgia, Alabama rematch of the SEC championship a few weeks back. Georgia, even though they lost that game 41-24 and were the favorites in that game, they're the favorites in this as well by 2.5 points. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not a big college football guy. I usually start watching the players once they are talked about for the draft. So I do like to watch these matchups, though, because there are a lot of players that in these games that you kind of can get a glimpse of that end up going to the NFL because it's an SEC championship type game. Like the SEC has the most draft picks out of any division in college football for the NFL. So Alabama, Georgia are two of the biggest, if not the biggest teams that filter into the NFL. So those guys are going to be out there, but Georgia's getting the hype. But this is still Alabama. This is still Nick Saban. Georgia hasn't beaten Alabama since 2007, which, I mean, just look at that. And there's been some good Georgia teams in that range. I'm going to go through it, but I think Alabama's going to win this just because of history repeating itself. I've seen it too many times. This Alabama, Georgia, Alabama versus anybody. Alabama loses sometimes. It's going to happen. Patriots lost Super Bowls too. But after taking care of business against them once, people are saying that was Georgia's worst game of the year. They're known to be a great defense, the best defense in college football, and then to have 41 points put on them, that's pretty impressive. But Nick Saban prepares for these games. Patriots weren't always the best team to win the Super Bowl, but they were the most prepared, and they had a little bit of luck on their side. I mean, it happens. That's what happened with Alabama when they played Georgia, when Tua hit the touchdown. So stuff like that is going to happen. But overall, like this college football championship should be great. So you should definitely check it out on TV because I'm going to be watching. I'm not even a college football fan. You just want to see if, see Alabama, if they're still the greatness as great as they've always been. I would bet yes, but maybe you feel another way. But before we move on, I do want to just talk about a couple of the prospects because that's what interests me more because I'm not a big college football fan. I like to talk more about the guys that are going to be in the NFL draft this next year. So I did a little bit of research. And I wanted to I mainly looked at a couple articles, but I thought that this Bleacher Report article was the best. And I wanted to just go through and kind of talk about like which players are going to be the ones that are called on, on draft day. Like which guys are going to be the ones called on draft day. We're going to go over and we're going to be talking about, okay, these guys are the bona fide stars of this game. First one we got to talk about is offensive tackle Evan Neal for Alabama. This is the guy that is the first one. People think that he's going to be the number one overall pick. He's the mock number one overall pick because there isn't that like top quarterback prospect. So Evan O'Neal, it's hard to watch offensive tackles and get super excited when you're just watching normal film. So you might not get anything too crazy, but you never know. You might get a cool pancake block. You might get something else. You might just see him not give up anything. You might notice that no rushes are coming from the left side. Definitely possible. But Evan Neal, he's 6'7", 350, and he'll be a name you hear about in the NFL. He could be Trevor Lawrence's left side, blind side protector. That's the big man right there. So Evan Neal, first prospect to pay attention to in this national championship. I think the second one is Jordan Davis. This guy, he's more of a run stuffer, not a quarterback hitter per se, but he's that pure nose tackle that they say in this. And he's just the guy that'll eat up blocks and try to prevent Alabama from running the ball. So I think he's a guy you'll maybe be able to tell a little bit more when you see him on the field. Like, okay, you can kind of feel his impact a little bit more. Jordan Davis, Georgia, right here. And check out this article if you have a chance. Look at Bleacher Report, College Football Championship, top Georgia versus Alabama, NFL draft prospects. So this, I read through it all and it has a lot of good information. But when you talk about Jordan Davis, it's a lot more about run stuffing. And those guys are definitely first round picks. They're not like your highlight top, defensive lineman. It's usually an outside edge rusher or something like that. But these guys are important. I mean, Bucks just paid Vita Vea. He's not the biggest pass rusher, but he opens up blocks for your pass rushers as well. So he can eat up guys, and then you get the other guy to get all the glory. Think Justin Smith a few years back. Justin Smith was the guy really dominating, and Alt Smith was leaking out and getting the sacks. That's what Jordan Davis could possibly do while also being a great run stuffer. So big prospect. The next one is the one that you might want to keep an eye out for, maybe a fantasy draft or a dynasty league or something like that. Number one receiver in this draft by a lot of people's standards, and that's Jameson Williams. He's had it, obviously Alabama is known for having a great record with a lot of wide receivers and having a lot of guys come out recently. But Jameson Williams is one of those guys. Last time it says here, oh, maybe it doesn't have here. Oh, yeah. Last time they played Georgia a few weeks back, he had 7 catches for 184 and 2 touchdowns. So that's speed. That's a lot more than speed. That's just explosion. I mean, 7 catches for 184. That's more than 20 yards to catch by a good amount. So Jameson Williams, that's a guy that you want to keep an eye out for, especially if you're a fantasy football player or just a football fan that loves to see good wide receiver play. We've been kind of spoiled with wide receivers lately in terms of the quality. This might be another guy to keep an eye out for that could be a great early impact guy. Maybe not a Jamar Chase because that would be crazy, but another good impact guy. And then the last one is Nakobe Dean. One of those linebackers that is a good run stuffer and good pass defender, and that is exactly what you need in the NFL these days. I don't think he's as much of a pass rusher, but he's a defender. He's guarding around that middle of the field. He can deflect a bunch of balls. He's that guy that, he has those big coverage. You don't want to have a linebacker that can't cover, especially in today's NFL. And this seems like a guy that has the ability to actually shut down some quarterbacks. So look out for Nakobe Dean. I'm going to definitely be watching him because I want to see how well